met you, I was lonesome. And when you came inside, dear, my heart grew light and this whole world seemed new to me. You're really swell, I have to admit you deserve expressions that really fit you. And so I've racked my brain hoping to explain all the things that you did to me. Va me bis to shame, please let me explain. Va me bis to shame means you're grand. Va me bis to shame, again I'll explain. It means you're the fairest in the land. I could say Bella, Bella, even say wunderbar. Each language only helps me tell you how grand you are. I've tried to explain, va me bis to shame. So kiss me and say you understand. Va me bis to shame, you've heard it all before, but let me try to explain. Va me bis to shame means that you're grand. Va me bis to shame, it's such an old refrain, and yet I should explain. It means I am begging for your hand. I could say Bella, Bella, even say wunderbar. Each language only helps me tell you how grand you are. Say Bella, Bella, even say wunderbar. Each language only helps me tell you how grand you are. I've tried to explain, va me bis to shame. So kiss me and say that you will understand. Of all the boys I've known, and I've known some, until I first met you I was lonesome. And when you came inside, dear, my heart grew light and this whole world seemed new to me. You're really swell, I have to admit you deserve expressions that really fit you. And so I've racked my brain hoping to explain all the things that you did to me. Va me bis to shame, please let me explain. Va me bis to shame means you're grand. Va me bis to shame, again I'll explain. It means you're the fairest in the land. I could say Bella, Bella, even say wunderbar. Each language only helps me tell you how grand you are. I've tried to explain, va me bis to shame.
Wait a minute.
Understand.
I gotta get it off
Va me bis to shame, you've heard it all before, but let me try to explain. Va me bis to shame. You've heard it all before, but let me try to explain. Va me bis to shame means that you're grand. Va me bis to shame, it's such an old refrain, and yet I should explain. It means I am begging for your hand. I could say Bella, Bella, even say wunderbar. Each language only helps me tell you how grand you are. pain, so kiss me and say that you will understand.
Okay. And we need to turn, is video on? Yep, turn video on. Welcome, everyone. This is week 4 of Jazz Appreciation with Michael Salsburg and Charlie Rich. And we're about to begin. Put on your seatbelts, and here we go.
Thank you, Charlie. Let's go to the next slide. So last week, I couldn't finish off all of session 3. So we're going to do that and then plow on to session 4, which is basically the maturity of swing. Session 3 was all about sort of how it got started. So the first thing we're going to get to here is the Eddie Durham, who, according to what we read, he was the first person to record with an electric guitar. Maybe not the first person to perform with one, but first person to record. So let's check this out, all right?
Now first you take a bottle, an old empty bottle. Then you find a level place for the floor to place that bottle. Next you start to toddle, keep watch on the bottle. Then you step around a bit, be careful not to hit that bottle. Whoa, just like a clown, start messing around. Keep going to town. Then you make a break and you wiggle like a snake that's hitting that bottle. It's easy to do, 'cause everybody hits the bottle. Everybody except Jimmy hits the bottle.
So there, speaking of Eddie Durham and the first recording on electric guitar, there's a little controversy about this. Like, those who say they invented jazz, and there are many of them. There are others who claim to have been the first on electric guitar. Eddie might have been the first to record on guitar, but there was another guitarist named Jack Miller who played live 3 years before that at Grauman's Chinese Theater out in California. He played on a Rickenbacker guitar, which is still a very popular brand. You certainly have seen Rickenbackers played by the Beatles, by the Byrds, and many others include today as well too. What's interesting about this is until electric guitar came out, you pretty much had a rhythm effect and the guitarist strum chords, and really only maybe the drummer and the bass and the keyboard could hear them. But with electric guitar, someone like Eddie could play single lines, and you can see how he was influenced by Eddie Lang as well. And then this went on to folks like Charley Christian, who influenced bebop. You'll hear about that in a later presentation. And he worked with Goodman. Turn that over to you.
Okay, very good. All right, so as you can see, it was in 1935 that we actually had an integrated band for the first time, and it was Benny Goodman. And it sort of makes sense since Benny Goodman took over Fletcher Henderson's band, which was all black. Well, he took over the arrangements and he started really rearranging everything. I'd like to point out, this is only something that could have happened in New York. This never would have happened in New Orleans. Next point I want to get to is Chick Webb and Ella Fitzgerald. So this is when he first met Ella, and I'll talk more about Ella later. But Chick Webb was from Baltimore, and at 16, he moved to New York. And by 17, he was known as the king of the drums. So later on in 1937, we're going to get to that time very quickly, you'll see that there's another battle of the bands between Chick Webb's band and Benny Goodman's band. Now to get on to Ella, no, I'm going to get on to Ella later. Let's, I'm going to play Billie Holiday, but before I do, there's this whole tie-in between Benny Goodman and Billie Holiday because they both had John Hammond as a producer, and he introduced Billie to Benny. And Teddy Wilson was the piano player both in Benny's band, this now new integrated band, and also he played with Billie Holiday, who, by the way, for any of you from Philadelphia, she's a Philly girl. And we're going to try this out. I hope you enjoy this.
What a little moonlight can do to you. You're in love, your heart's a flooding all day long. You only stutter 'cause your poor tongue just will not utter the word, I love you. What a little moonlight can do. Wait a while till little moonbeam comes peeping through. You'll get bored, you can't resist him, and all you say when you have kissed him is ooh. What a little moonlight can do.
Okay, so perhaps I should have discussed this before you listened, but here's something about Billie Holiday is she didn't have a huge range. It was not much more than an octave. But what she did was totally new. She basically improvised, and not just the notes, but also the rhythm. She would come in almost ahead of the beat and sometimes lag behind the beat. And she just turned it into a much more fluid sound. And she also encouraged all of her musicians who played with her to improvise. So she was a huge force. By the way, I was reading about her and I realized we've been talking about media. So at the very beginning, we talked about how records was the media, records were the media in which the blues and the original New Orleans jazz got distributed around the world. And then there were better recordings with electric microphones and that stuff. She was signed with Teddy Wilson to do a style, the swing style, because there was a growing jukebox trade. So in a lot of instances, these recordings were made to be distributed on jukeboxes, which means they sort of have more of a jump to it. That's, I think, the undercurrent that really fed into the swing era. Okay, so let's move on. Now, I mentioned Chick Webb and I mentioned Benny Goodman, and there was another battle of the bands. And I'm going to play some great songs from both. But when we get to the Battle of the Bands, here's the interesting part. In this battle, they both play the exact same songs. Okay, so the audience could actually compare the bands, not the arrange. Well, there were different arrangements, but one band would play the song and then the other band would play the song, which is, I mean, today, that's a whole different story. I'll get to the Battle of the Bands later, but let's just get to Stompin' at the Savoy, which was where Chick Webb was sort of installed and didn't move for a very long time. One more thing about Billie Holiday. Not only is she a Philly girl, but she died very young at the age of 44. And if you've seen pictures of her at the end, because she was on some TV shows and stuff, she looked a heck of a lot older than 44 because she was a heroin addict. So it was a very sad life, but we've been hearing a lot about people who died young in this business.
Wow, I could not stop tapping my foot and clapping my hands during that. I can really see how this like wanting to just let yourself loose feel, led to early rock and roll. Really strong connection in my mind between swing like that and early rock music.
Okay. So that's stopping at the Savoy. Now, so 16-year-old Baltimore boy goes to New York. At 17, he has his own band and he's the king of drums. And also he was introduced to Ella Fitzgerald. And you have to understand that Chick Webb was not a nice looking guy. He was short. He was very deformed. He had a spinal problem. And he looked at Ella Fitzgerald and said, too ugly. Fletcher Henderson passed on Ella. Chick passed on Ella, but eventually he got her into the band. As you saw, she was mentioned in that video. So let's go to the next one. Let's go to Benny Goodman's Sing, Sing, Sing. So you can hear both of these guys had huge hits going on at this time. is this going to end?
Hit the escape key.
Okay, while we were playing this, we got asked a couple questions, so I'd like to address them. The first question was, what's the difference between swing and jazz? And jazz is the general name for all of this that we're going to be talking about in 8 weeks, which started really at the turn of the 20th century and goes till today. Swing is one era of jazz, which is what I'm talking about right now. And this starts in the middle 30s, and it pretty much ends at the end of the war, as you'll see. So this was this is the golden age of swing. And there are a lot of bands that still play swing and a lot of people who love it, but that's just one type of many kinds of jazz. The other question was, why is it that Benny Goodman's clarinet sounds more mellow than the clarinetist in Chick Webb's band? And I believe the reason is that Benny Goodman was an accomplished classical clarinetist, and he had just a ton of technique.
Yeah, just like Wynton Marsalis today, Benny Goodman has recorded classical albums, right? Wynton classical CDs that had not a hint of jazz on them. So he understood about tone and tone production.
Okay, so we're getting now to the Battle of the Bands, which was May 11th. First of all, by the way, no, I have to go back to Sing, 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 because I wanted to talk more about it. What you heard was a rather long version. That was a 5-minute version, but where is it? Oh, right. They actually did one that lasted 8 minutes and 43 seconds. Now, understand that at that time they had standard 10-inch 78 RPM records. The extended work had to fit on two sides of a 12-inch 78. And you'll see later that he performs it in Carnegie Hall, and it gets up to like 12 minutes. So this is sort of like the Doors' Light My Fire. There's a long version and a short version. So also there's a lot of improvisation that goes on, even though it is very, very well arranged. In the middle, maybe you heard this, they do Mr. Christopher Columbus, which was a piece that was written for the Fletcher Henderson Band. And if you remember from last week, Benny Goodman took over all those arrangements. It's Mr. Christopher Columbus, that piece. So they just found all sorts of stuff to do. The drummer was Gene Krupa. So, you know, you always hear about Gene Krupa. That's what he sounded like. It had not just Benny Goodman, but Harry James on one of the trumpets. It was a huge band. Okay. There was one recording that was 6 minutes long, and it was supposed to end, but Gene Krupa wouldn't stop drumming. So Benny just polished up his clarinet and started playing more. And that's how it went. So let's get to the Battle of the Bands. And I'm going to read you some quotes. Hours before the scheduled battle, police had thrown a cordon around the stage. New York riot patrolmen were at the ready, just in case the 4,000 people inside and the 5,000 outside got out of hand. People were getting crazy for swing.
This is like Beatlemania.
Yeah, this is like Beatlemania.
Swing mania.
Yeah. So according to jazz historian George Simon, Benny's band played first and made a great impression. But then the Webb band got into it and they blew the roof off the Savoy. The crowd screamed and whistled with delirium. The Webb band easily toppled Goodman that night. And Gene Krupa said years later, "I'll never forget that night. Webb cut me to ribbons." So so this is another Battle of the Bands with a different outcome than the last one. So now we're going to get into
Help us out tonight.
What do you think I'm here for? What do you think, boys?
New Orleans. New Orleans.
Do you know what it means to miss New Orleans and miss it each night and day? I know I'm not wrong. The feeling's getting stronger the longer I stay away. Miss the moss-covered vines, the tall sugar pines, where mockingbirds used to sing. And I'd like to see the lazy Mississippi hurrying to spring. the Mardi Gras, the memories of Creole tunes that fill the air. I dream of oleanders in June, and soon I'm wishing that I was there. Do you know what it means to miss New Orleans when that's where you left your heart? And there's something more. I miss the one I care for more than I miss New Orleans.
Good evening.
Well, this is really a surprise.
Okay, so now we're getting into the golden age of swing. And at the very beginning, as people were signing on, we were playing this song. I want to play just a little bit of it. I don't want to go through the whole thing again, but this is Bimir Bis Du Shane, which, by the way, was my parents' big song. I don't know why. Maybe it was the first song after they got married or something. But I'm going to play a little bit, and I want to tell you a little bit about how this happened, because it has an interesting story. Well, I'll tell you the story first. What the heck? Sammy Kahn witnessed a performance of a song in Yiddish at by African-American performers at the Apollo Theater in Harlem. And he started asking about it. And it turns out that Jenny Grossenger at Grossenger's Catskill Resort Hotel taught this to those musicians. Sammy bought the rights and he got the Andrews Sisters to sing it. And this, to me, is like right at the beginning of the golden age of swing. So I'm just going to play a little bit of it to remind you what we were playing before.
Of all the boys I've known, and I've known some, until I first met you I was lonesome. And when you came inside, dear, my heart grew light and this whole world seemed new to me. You're really swell, I have to admit you deserve expressions that really fit you. And so I've racked my brain hoping to explain all the things that you did to me. Bimir Bis Du Shane, please let me explain. Bimir Bis Du Shane means you're grand. Bimir Bis Du Shane, again I'll explain. It means you're the fairest in the land.
Okay, so that's just a taste of what it was all about. We're going to move on to Count Basie, who now is becoming, before we talked about this in the last week, these people were just getting started, all right? Now they are the young ones who are going to take over swing. So this is a wonderful tune. It's called 1 O'Clock Jump, but when they first played it, they had live radio, and a lot of these bands made money playing live radio like on a Saturday night, and it was getting really late, like around 1 o'clock. And they played this great tune and they said, that's a great tune. What's it called? And the name of the tune was Blue Balls. So they changed that right away. And they called it 1 O'Clock Jump. And here we go. Okay, so that was the 1 o'clock jump, and now I have a little clip that will remind you of something you once saw in the movies. Okay, perhaps you remember that. I thought this would be a good one to see because Billie Holiday became the vocalist for Count Basie, and this is a classic song. You heard what, Chicago did this,
No,
right?
Blood, Sweat, and
Blood,
Tears.
Sweat, and Tears. Right?
Kind of an overwrought version of it, if you will. I think this is much better. God bless the child.
Shall have them that's not shall lose. So the Bible said, and it still is news. Mama may have, Papa may have, but God bless the child that's got his own, that's got his own. Yes, the strong get more while the weak ones fade. Empty pockets don't ever make the grade. Mama may have, Papa may bless the child that's got his own, that's got his own. Money, you've got lots of friends crowding round the door, but when you're gone and spending ends, they don't come no more. Rich relations give crust of bread and such. You can help yourself, but don't take too much. Mama may have, Papa may have, but God bless the child that's got his own, that's got his own.
Okay, so that's Billie Holiday. There was something I wanted. We're doing one of her songs, right? Today with the Pelican Cove Jazz Combo.
Did you miss New Orleans?
Yeah, right. So
Yeah, that's happening at 4 o'clock in front of the Wilbanks.
in front of the Wilbanks.
That's a
and it's-
commercial.
Yes, a blatant commercial. And
Yes.
it's all going to be about Mardi Gras and New Orleans. So you can hear another version of this.
But there will be a little bit of Keith Jarrett as well.
Okay, so 1938, we're inching up. Benny Goodman host. First of all, he had a sold out concert in Carnegie Hall, and he featured jazz history, and they had a jam session, and he invited other members of other bands such as Chick Webb's band and Count Basie's band, and then they had a battle of the bands, of course. And Ella and Chick band won over Billy and Count Basie. But that thing happens. Again, it said they went over to the Savoy Ballroom to do that.
How do they decide, Michael? Who
I
wins?
don't know.
Do they have an applause meter? Is that what it is?
I think they just did it by the sound, and they all got together to have a good time and to sell tickets.
Maybe it was
No one
the
cared.
decibel reading for the applause.
Yes.
That's
So now I want to play Cherokee because there's a number of songs, and I've always, like, this is something that has always intrigued me. Just like people have lives, songs have lives, and they have multiple stages of those lives. So this is Cherokee that Ray Noble recorded, and you're going to see a couple more versions. You're going to see another version of Cherokee today, and then Charlie's going to play another version of Cherokee when he gets to Charlie Parker. And it's just fascinating to see how one song can change and endure for all these years. So this is Cherokee as Ray Noble did it. And as you can see, it's part of the 5 movements. Ray Noble was Canadian. He eventually, though, moved and stayed in New York.
Quick comment. Even beyond Charlie Parker, if you're a John Coltrane fan, Cherokee is really the basis for Coltrane's Giant Steps.
Good, good. That's good to know. We were just talking about how that ended. It's like the original Fade Out. They just kept playing quieter and quieter. And by the way, you may have heard a beautiful trombone solo in it. And Ray Noble is the one who hired Glenn Miller and recruited him into his band. So again, you're seeing these young people show up who dominate the swing era just a little later. I want to play this one of Ella Fitzgerald. This was her first big hit, Tisket a Tasket. You'll hear it again when Charley plays a recording. She does a very extended improvisation, and she actually sings some of this all over again many years later. But here's the original, well, she was age 21 and she co-wrote it.
This is actually almost a music video, if you will.
Yeah. Okay, here we go.
A tisket, a tasket, a brown and yellow basket. I send a letter to my mummy. On the way I dropped it. I dropped it, I dropped it. Yes, on the way I dropped it. A little girlie picked it up and put it in her pocket. She was trucking on down the avenue with not a single thing to do. She went a-pecking all around. When she spied it on the ground, she took it, my little yellow basket. And if she doesn't bring it back, I think that I will die. Oh gee, I wonder where my basket can be.
Sail away, sail away, sail away, sail away, sail away.
Oh dear, I wish that little girl I could see.
Sail away, sail away, sail away, sail away, sail away.
Oh, why was I so careless with that basket of mine? That itty bitty basket was the joy of mine. Basket, I lost my yellow basket. Won't someone help me find my basket and make me happy again?
Was it red?
No.
Was it green?
No.
Was it cerise?
No, just a little yellow basket. A little yellow basket.
So we're thinking this might have been in an Abbott and Costello movie, or maybe, I don't know, it was an advertisement or something. But Ella Fitzgerald, of a lot of these jazz heroes of the past, she has really endured. She started out at a very early age. She was age 17 and she went to the Apollo Theater to dance. But when she saw the dancers, she got intimidated. So she sang a song. She sang Judy and the Object of My Affection and won first prize. And that's just the beginning. As you know, she was introduced to Chick Webb. She was gawky and unkempt, and a diamond in the rough is basically what someone said. Maybe it was him. Meanwhile, Webb had spinal tuberculosis and he was a mess. He died at the age of 35. And guess who took over the band? It was Ella. So Ella took over Chick Webb's band and she became the band leader, recorded nearly 150 songs with his orchestra. And she died at the age of 7, also performed and recorded, of course, with the Benny Goodman Orchestra. And she died at the age of 79. So she's an amazing person.
She had the last laugh.
She had the last laugh on a lot of those people. Okay, now I want you to take a look
Michael?
at the graphic that you see. Does anyone recognize that? Have you ever seen that? I would think you've seen it in a bunch of movies and TV shows and stuff. This is the Capitol Records building, and it was called the building that Nat built. So we're going to talk a bit about Nat King Cole, which I don't even see on this page.
Well, his face is underneath the Capitol building.
Yeah,
holding it
there
up.
he is. We'll get to him. Okay, we're not going to get to him yet, but I just wanted to tell you what that building's all about. So Chick Webb dies in 1939. Charlie Barnett releases Cherokee. I want to go back to Ray Noble just for a second. He seems to have written a bunch of different songs, different kinds of songs that still endure today. Like Cherokee, Try a Little Tenderness.
Right.
So he was an interesting character who I really found out a lot more about when I did the research for this. So let's check out this next version of Cherokee. Charlie Barnett is the one who's famous for playing this. Not that I think he's done the best job, but there you go. Okay, big finish. To be honest, Charlie and I were watching that and we don't see why he was so famous for it, to be honest, but that's okay. We'll go on. Sometimes commercialism is a whole different world than what, people would aesthetically like or not like.
Well, but one interesting thing of note was if you saw the horn players were using toilet plungers to get that early wah-wah sound before the electronics came out with pedals that do that. But they are in fact originally toilet plungers, and then someone figured out a way to sell them.
Yes, and right. Okay. So let's move on to, I can see now we have Nat King Cole, and we're going to do Sweet Lorraine, and that'll start a whole other thing. But let's go to Duke Ellington. What I like about this and a number of the things that I found on the internet is you really get to see them in action. So let's watch the Duke take the A Train. He collaborated with this guy, Billy Strayhorn, for 30 years. And it was a wonderful collaboration. And this is one example.
should take
a train. You get to where you're going in a hurry. Hurry, hurry, hurry. Now it's coming. Can't you hear the rails are humming? If you should miss the A train, the quickest way to get to Harlem.
Okay, what do you think of that? That was good. Now we're going to get to Nat King Cole. I think people don't understand how he got started. He was considered one of the great jazz pianists. He accompanied musicians like Lester Young and Charlie Parker. Dizzy Gillespie cited him as his favorite keyboard player. The King Cole Trio was assembled in 1937. It was the prototype for the small jazz ensemble. It was admired so much it influenced generations of players such as Bill Evans, Oscar Peterson, Hank Jones, Ahmad Jamal, and Bud Powell, and Tommy Flanagan. That's a lot of wonderful names to embrace his style. So he got married in Los Angeles, and he had a little group. He had a little combo, and he called them the Old King Cole. No, it was called King Cole Swingsters, and eventually just turned to King Cole Trio. And they played there, and someone got up and asked him to sing a song, and the person asked for a specific song, and he said, I don't know that song, but I'm going to sing this song. And he sang Sweet Lorraine, and that was his first big hit. And he recorded exclusively with Capitol Records and built that building out of this career. So here we go.
I've just found joy. I'm as happy as a baby boy with another brand new choo-choo chime. When I met my sweet Lorraine, 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 a pair of eyes that are brighter than the summer skies. When you see them, you realize why I love my sweet Lorraine. Now when it's raining, I don't miss the sun, because it's in my baby's smile. And to think that I'm the lucky one that will lead her down the aisle. Each night I pray that no one will steal her heart away. I can't wait until that lucky day when I marry sweet Lorraine. Each night I pray that no one will steal her heart away. I can't wait until that lucky day when I marry sweet Lorraine.
I believe that was Oscar Moore playing that beautiful guitar fills and arpeggios in the background.
Yeah, and if you're keeping up with this, we already did play a version of this. Again, it's a song that's had many lives. We had Venuti Lang and Benny Goodman played the solo. I think we did this last week. So this is one that went from a really peppy song to a much smoother song. I'm going to skip the Glenn Miller In a Mood. Everyone's heard that a lot of times. You can always go to the Pelican Cove, the PCU site that we have, or the page we have, and there's a list of all of these YouTube recordings. So you can go to the link and listen to all this stuff that if I can't play it. But I'd like to move on. I'd like to play this. The reason why I'm doing this is you've heard about Fats Waller, but this is something that was actually recorded and you can see what he looks like, and he's a hoot. So here we go.
a table for two. There was four of us, me, your big feet, and you. From your ankles up, you sure are neat. Yes, but from that down's exactly too much feet. Yes, your feet's too big. Can't stand you 'cause your feet's too big. Say I can't tolerate you 'cause your feet's too big. Join in choir. Twice, 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 twice. How's that for a vocal? Ain't it a killer? Where'd you get 'em? Your gal, she loves you. She thinks you're nice. She claims you got everything to take you to paradise. Ain't that a killer? She likes your loving. She likes your rig. Ah. But man, oh man, them things is too big. Yes, your feet's too big. Can't stand you 'cause your feet's too big. Say I can't tolerate you, nay, nay, 'cause your feet's too big. Cedric, on your feet and earn your salary, son, blow. Play that doghouse music, I love it. That's it, give me the growl. Say your pedal extremities are colossal, but to me you ain't nothing but an old fossil. Yes, you got me walking, talking, and squawking, 'cause your feet's too big. Yes, your feet's too big. Can't stand you 'cause your feet's too big. Say I can't tolerate you, I really hate you, 'cause your feet's too big. In fact, your pedal extremities are a bit obnoxious. Where did you get them, son? Where did you get them? One never knows do what.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. I do have to apologize. The aspect ratio of that video was off. They weren't that fat, okay, but it's still pretty funny to see him. So in 1942, Glenn Miller forsakes $300,000 a week, and Charley challenged this. I looked it up. He was making a ton of money, and he joined the Air Force. He joined a 50-piece band. And Glenn Miller, so like you saw, he started out playing trombone with Ray Noble. And he was the best-selling recording artist from 1939 to 1942. That's 3 years of being the best-selling. Included In the Mood, Moonlight Serenade, Pennsylvania 6-5000, Chattanooga Choo Choo, a whole ton of them. He scored 16 #1 records and 69 top 10 hits, more than Elvis Presley, more than the Beatles. This guy was a force, and he disappeared at the age of 40. His plane went up, and they don't know what happened to him. So
he's with Amelia Earhart.
Yes, he probably met him with her. So just as we always do, we have a small recording we made, a little gem here, and we decided to do our own version of Sweet Lorraine, which is more in the style of Venuti Lang. So I hope you enjoy this. We enjoyed making it. Okay, we're running out of time, and I'm going to skip a few things. But I would say that the death of Glenn Miller was really the end of swing in its heyday. It's still around; people still love it. But I'd like to do I'd like to do a little thing about Joe Venuti at the end, because as I've mentioned many times, he is he's my idol as far as his technique and how he swings and just, you know, what he did all along. I'm going to skip the instrumental. I'm going to skip the Swing Kids, but I highly recommend you look at this film, 1993, called Swing Kids. It's about Nazi Germany and these kids who are not going to buckle under the regime.
They saw swing music as the emblematic of freedom, something definitely the Nazis did not want to have.
Right.
And they were persecuted for it. And it is somewhat of a true story.
So I just want to do the interview with Joe Venuti because you've heard him over and over. And also Dick Cavett sort of sums it up, is his lifetime spanned all of this. It started in 1926 with Eddie Lang. And he had a big resurgence when swing started happening and then later. But here's an interview right before he died. No one really knows how old he was. They think that he was 76.
Let me award you a microphone here so you can be heard beyond the studio.
Thank you, Dick.
Even I know enough to know that that is sensational. I don't have to read that the people who talk about your fabulous technique and your great tone and your incredible talent. But the thing that they talk about also, musicians will say, we have a couple hours, shall we go have a drink or tell Joe Venuti stories? Let me give you an example of the kind of thing I've heard, and you can tell me if there is such a story. One that I've heard told, legendary, is that you got a little tired of hearing Rhapsody in Blue when you were with the Whiteman Band. Didn't you play it?
Well, we used to play it twice a day, in the afternoon and night.
Yeah.
And after 9 years, you know, it gets pretty long, you know. So I decided, it came to my mind that I'd take 5 pounds of flour.
Flour?
Flour.
Common kitchen flour.
And I put it in the tuba. See, back in those days, we didn't use a timpani roll. We used the tuba note, you know, bang, and then the band would play, you know. Then we started in the Rhapsody in Blue. So naturally, after the tuba, the 5 pounds of flour, and there's a blues scream, and Pop comes out, Paul Whiteman comes out and directs the orchestra. Well, when he came out, we looked like a bunch of snowmen, because all the flour came out of the tuba. So he had to close the scrim again. And get the flit guns, you know, to clear the stage up again.
You were never fired for this sort of thing, obviously.
Oh, no, he was the biggest prankster in the band.
Paul Whiteman also?
Paul was great. He was #1.
So what, would he get even with you? Anything like that?
Sure, in a million ways. One time he put, I was supposed to play a solo with Eddie Lang. See, we had a partner, and we were teamed up like a, you know, a bicycle, a 6-day bicycle race. It's Venuti and Lang.
He was your guitarist.
He played guitar, the best in the world. Anyway, he'd call us out, and I went out to play, and I couldn't, not a note came out of the violin. He put soap all over my bow and on the strings. See?
I have a feeling people are going to try that around the country from your telling this.
Well, but I double-cross him. I get up and sing, see? I'd sing, see, and then he'd lose a couple of more hairs. When we first started with Paul Whiteman, he had a full head of hair. After 9 years, he was bald as I am right now.
And you accounted for most of those hairs,
Well, all the guys in the band did. We had quite a few pranksters in that band.
Say,
There's a whole feature on Eddie Lang.
Okay, hold on. You want to talk? Oh, okay. All right, we're back on. Actually, he left off some much more interesting pranks. And if you see me around the Cove and you want to hear a more interesting one, I can tell you the story of Joe Venuti, Roy Rogers, and Trigger.
It's a horse of a story.
It's a horse of a very different color. But this is it. I'm signing off. It's been a wonderful 4 weeks sharing all of this with you. I hope you've gotten a lot out of it. Please show up at our jazz concert today. It should be very exciting. We'll be wearing Mardi Gras beads. I don't know about you. And Charlie, you want to say anything before we sign off?
Yes, of course. We're going to send out an email with a copy of the slides in PDF form, a link to remind you where the links are to all the music in our class, and we'll produce the movie and send a link out to that as well. So expect that in a day or two. You'll get that. And coming attractions, every show has to have that. Week 5, we'll start with the Age of Bebop. And we'll move into that as swing transitions into the bebop era. So stay tuned for week 5. Hope to see all of you there. Thank you.
And we're signing off.